Hey everyone, welcome back to KC3D Sparks. Today we are going to be continuing our Tavern series by adding in some lighting. I thought it'd be cool to do little like hanging lantern sconce type thing. So we're gonna go ahead and just jump right in. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab one of my wall pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and hit Shift D to go ahead and grab that. I'm just gonna go ahead and move that to our next available layer. And then we'll go to that layer, and it's pretty off center, so I wouldn't mind moving them before we start modeling. So on the tools over here, we can move our origin to the 3D cursor, which is already in the center. If it's not in the center, say it's over here, you can just hit Shift C to get it back into the center. And then to move the geometry, we'll just hit Geometry to Origin. Perfect. Now it's not front facing, which I would prefer to be front facing. So I can just go into the top view and do rotate 90 degrees. Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and tab into edit mode. For our sconce, I wanted it to be mounted to the wall pretty dead center. It was going to be down one and on the second plank. So right where this line is, that line, if I can. So I want it to be mounted here. In order to have that work though, I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out. So I'm just gonna go into wireframe view, pull this back out so it's nice and flush. Okay, perfect. So we want that flat for when we bring the mount out. For the mount, I'm going to go ahead and just use the geometry that's already here so that we don't have to add in any more loops or anything and get our mesh super crazy. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit S, X, and size along the Y-axis. Maybe about there. But I will go ahead and add 2 loops this way and size along the Z-axis to give us kind of more of a square look. So that way we can go ahead, grab these 2 faces here. I'm gonna hit 3 to go into the side view, E to extrude, and just pull that out. About there, maybe a little further. I want it to be pretty dramatic so when we print it out, it will be visible. That's good for now. So for the wall plate, once you have the plate down, obviously want the bar itself to come out a little bit further, and then we can have the lantern itself hanging down that way. So in order to do that, we'll hit E to extrude again, and we'll just size it in all directions. Now I want the bar to be more on the top, so I want much more space on the bottom. I'm going to keep sizing that down, maybe like that. I think would be a good wall plate. So I'm going to go into the side view again, hit E to extrude, and draw that out. Maybe about there for now. We can always change it later. I think that looks good. And that way we can add on some toruses and stuff for the actual loops themselves. Now that we have that set up, I want to go ahead and just model the lantern separately and resize it. So that way we can just boolean them together. Obviously you're not going to have the best topology if you boolean it together, but since we're just 3D printing it, we're not too concerned with how it's put together. It's just a little bit easier this way. So we're going to go ahead and just do Shift A and add in a cube. We're just going to size it way down, but I'm not focusing too much on the proper size. I figured we would just model it out, and then once we unhide the wall, we can size it out all together. Back into the front view and tab into edit mode. I'm going to go back to the vertex select down here. And what we want to do is I was going to work with this as the actual glass part itself. I'd like it a little bit more rectangular. So I'm going to go ahead and hit S and then Shift Z to size in every direction but the Z axis. Maybe like that. Yep, I like that better. And then what I would also like to do is do Control R, add 2 loops this way, Control R, add 2 loops that way. Go ahead and go around, and actually you're going to want to make sure that you have 2 loops on the side as well. Perfect. You will want to switch to face select for this next part. Go ahead and actually we need 1 more loop. About there. I wouldn't mind sizing these, so size along the Z, make it a little bit thinner. More like that. Looks good. Okay. Go into face select and we'll go ahead and grab all of those faces. Basically, I just did the alt right click, so I did the loop select just like you would with the vertices. You can also do that with the faces. However, we won't need these top ones, so you can go ahead and deselect the top. And we also want this one down here. It's going to be kind of that rim on the bottom. Oops, somehow that got deselected. Make sure we have everything. And we don't need the bottom either. Okay, so once we have all of these faces selected, I'm going to go ahead and I guess go into top view to look at it. We're going to hit E to extrude. And you'll notice it's kind of off. It's not going to do it properly. What we can do is just do S and Shift Z again, so it sizes out. Just like that. I might make it a little bit thicker just because, like I said, we want to make it pretty exaggerated so it prints properly and you can actually see the details. So I'll probably do something more like that. Looks pretty good. My only complaint is you'll notice that these edges came out at an angle, so we will have to fix those. So what I'll do is go ahead and just go to edge select and grab these edges. I'm going to do the front and the back first. Go into top view, going to switch to vertex mode so I can see it, and wireframe, hit Z. Go size along the X and just pull that in. Border select, and then size along the Y axis. Perfect. Oops. All right, so now we have the basic box shape. And I wanted to add the hood on top. So I'm going to go to the front view, grab this top row here, E to extrude, and we're just going to pull it up a teeny bit, not too much, just to get it to separate from there. And we're going to go ahead and size it out. And it's going to look a little weird at first. But what we'll do is go ahead and grab these ones. Whoop. Out here. Size them out a little bit. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go into top view. A to deselect, Z to go into wireframe. Border select those. Size along the Y. Border select these. Size along the X. Border select. Size along the Y. And you should be able to just hit 0, actually. Keep forgetting about that. Border select. S, X, 0. Enter. Go back into front view, E to extrude, bring that up, and then we're going to size that in. Good. I was just double checking, making sure nothing was overlapping or anything crazy. Nope, actually looks pretty good. All right, going to go ahead and E to extrude again and size that in. Now I will make this part circular later, but for now I want to go ahead and just have it rectangular still. So that way the top, we don't have to fix those vertices again. We'll just only fix the circular part, depending on how it looks. Okay, E to extrude again, pull this up, E to extrude, size it out, make sure it's sized out properly. Yes. E to extrude, bring that up and size that in. And it's already faced off, so we don't have to do anything to that. Just go ahead and hit A to deselect. Now, of course, you could leave that rectangular if you are interested. I wanted to go ahead and try to make it circular though. So what I'm gonna do is just grab this one and hit W, smooth. Now, it's not really... Okay, it's starting to get a curve here. What I'm going to do, grab these four, size them in. Go into front view, bring that back up, size it back in. It's not the prettiest. It might look better if we left it rectangular, but it's worth a shot. Most lanterns have like this circular part. Not really sure what the technical term is, but I thought it'd be worth trying. Size that back in. Cool, I like that. This part's a little bit taller than I'd like it to be, so I'm gonna go ahead and just bring that down. There we go, I like that. Now, what I'm going to do, usually when we want to add on a hook or something, we would go ahead, do Shift A, add our torus, and we could reposition this, but since we're going to be connecting it to multiple pieces, it's not going to be on the open or anything. I don't actually want this to be have a hole here. It's just going to be closed up anyway. So what I'm going to do, go ahead and delete that, and we're going to just add a sphere. I'm going to go into front view. I'm going to hit align to view, and I'm not really going to touch anything else. Everything else is fine. I'm just going to obviously size way down, focus in on it, and get it to size properly first. Maybe like that. And then what I'm going to do instead is I will tab into edit mode, grab this vertice and this vertice, and we're going to apply our proportional editing. We're going to do connected. So what this will do, I don't know if I've gone over the proportional editing before, is when we hit the size, that comes up with this white ring, and you can use your scroll wheel to size that up and down. For this instance, we can probably have it pretty small, actually even smaller, because it's going to size in what is actually connected. So you see when it's big, it sizes basically everything proportionally, and then once you start scrolling it down is when it starts to get smaller. So pretty easy. I was going to right click to get out of that so I can look at it from this direction. So I'm going to size in like this, to kind of give it that torus look, like donut shape, but still be filled in. I'm thinking like that probably looks good. I like that shape. Now I'm gonna draw it, the whole thing down a little bit, so when we boolean it together, it has a good solid connection. Now I am going to go ahead and duplicate this, so if I ever wanted to edit it without the false torus connected, I can. I'm just gonna rename it first. Lantern, and then lantern with loop. Whoops. Will make sense. And then the sphere will be renamed to the loop. Lantern loop. Okay. So we're gonna hide our first lantern. Make sure we have our next lantern selected. Go over to our modifiers tab. Boolean. Change this to union. Going to select our object, hide it, make sure it stays there. It did. So go ahead and hit apply and then check it out. Make sure that actually looks really good. Perfect. There's no extra faces in here. You can always select face select to make sure there's nothing crazy going on. Perfect. This is watertight, nothing inside. Exactly what we want. So now that we have this, we can unhide our wall. The lantern's a little large, and so we can go ahead and size this way down. Size it back up, actually. I want it to be kind of the box part about the size of one plank. I think would be a decent size, so maybe like that. So now we can go ahead and go back to our wall piece and start editing the actual post itself. That was kind of just our placeholder. Now that we see how big the lantern hook is, we can go ahead and tab into here and resize this. So I'm gonna go back to vertices select so I can grab that whole loop there. And we want to size this in the Z and the X axis, or along the Z and the X axis. So we'll go ahead and S. Except we have our proportional editing on still, so we want to make sure we disable that. And then we can hit S, Shift, Y, and size that down. I'm gonna hit Z, to go into wireframe, and we can size it back up a little bit, and then grab our lantern and pull that up. Okay, I like that. Now, instead of just having the actual post stabbing the lantern itself, what I'm going to do is deselect everything, grab these, and pull this back. And we're going to unhide our lantern loop because we're going to reuse what we just had. So tab out of edit mode, go into top view, and we can rotate this 90 degrees and pull that up. Obviously, it's a little large. Oh, why did that go back? First, we'll want to make sure we fix this. I'm not sure what I did there. Oops. But fix that, pull that back out. Okay. Grab this, and we're going to size it down. Appropriate size. Let me pull these both down. Maybe something like that. Pull it back. Now, of course, if you wanted, you could change this extra loop into a hook if you wanted it to be more of a removable lantern. I wanted mine to be not removable, so I'm making a complete circle here. You could make it more decorative or something like that. A hook would probably look pretty cool if you wanted your PCs to be able to be like, oh, I grabbed this lantern off the wall and look around the room easier or whatever. But since there's going to be probably a few of these around the tavern and then hopefully some other sources of light, I'm not too worried about that. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this and make sure it's centered. So it's not, I'm looking at this line here against that line. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this over to make that match. Awesome. And then I also want to go ahead and grab this and these two. Go into top view. I'm going to size along the x-axis to make them disappear into the loop. Hopefully. Maybe draw that in a little bit. Awesome. So what I'll do, make sure our wall piece is selected, add modifier, Boolean, union, do this lantern loop, hide it. All right, it stayed, should be fine. Hit apply, tab into edit mode and check it out. That worked perfectly. Awesome. Tab back out. Have our wall selected still. I'm actually going to go ahead and actually I'm not going to worry about duplicating it since this piece was pretty simple to model out really quickly. So I'll just add modifier, Boolean, union, lantern with loop, hide that. Looks like it stayed okay. Hit apply, tab into edit mode, and check out our mesh. Make sure nothing crazy happened, and it looks perfect. Awesome. So we have our awesome little lantern with the mount. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is, since it's a little bit difficult to see, I'm going to skip forward and show you guys what it would look like colored and in the scene itself. So I will see you guys in a second. I didn't get too creative with the colors or anything, basically just so you guys could see what it looked like, what it could look like if you decided to go with a very basic palette when you printed it. And yep, so I'm gonna go ahead and move this to the first layer. And it's a little bit off since I centered it. Go ahead and bring that back up. Boop. And let's replace a wall piece. So, all right, we'll go ahead and replace this one since that one's the easiest to pull out real quick. Whoop. Now I know I'm not aligning this perfectly, but it's just for show. And there is our light. Awesome. So you guys can go ahead and let me know what you thought of this tutorial. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions or requests for next time. And I'll see you guys next week.